Hey guys, how's it going? It's Al. Welcome to my first video for the 2021 fantasy football season. Yeah, I know it's January 27th, 2021. The Super Bowl hasn't even happened yet, but it's time for a way too early first look at the 2021 first round. There's already best ball drafts going on. We already have some ADP data from those real money leagues. These are not mock drafts. These are not people drafting off of a list and then whatever. These are people playing for real money that have developed current and living ADPs. There's already some values. We're going to go over some guys that I think are going to be potential values in other videos. We're going to do a second round video, and we're going to space this out over time. I'm not jamming everything down your throat already. Don't know when you're going to be watching this, but whenever you are, please drop a like on the video and be sure that you leave a comment down below of players that you think should be in the first round or shouldn't be in the first round based on how you believe things are going to go. There's a lot of different viable strategies. I think that there's specific ways that we're going to look into things. So thank you guys for being here. Subscribe to the channel, ring the notifications bell. If you think it's too early for football, we got basketball videos on the channel every single day if you're playing daily fantasy basketball or getting ready for your best ball leagues. I personally, like I said, there are already best ball leagues going on. And Underdog Fantasy, disclosure in the description down below, just click show more, does already have a very early 2021 NFL best ball tournament that already has people drafting $10 entry fees. This is supposed to be, I believe that they're planning that the pacing for this is going to be full by the time the NFL draft gets here at the end of April. So yes, you don't know where the rookie is going to end up, but you're on the same playing field as everybody else. Players can get injured just like all of your opponents. You're going to draft a rookie. Maybe he goes to the team that you didn't think he was going to go to, and it kills the value that you thought you were drafting him at. Everybody else is playing with those same risks. And the value in drafting early is that there's players going way below where they should be. But the first round, I think, is somewhat standard. So let's take a look over at the ADP over on Underdog Fantasy. This is where they're sitting right now. And I'm going to go over where I think the first round is going to be or should be as things go on. Starting with the first pick. Pretty clear. Christian McCaffrey, coming off of an injury-riddled season, I do believe is still going to be the first pick in 2021, just for all of the things that he can do. I do think that the first half of the first round is going to be very running back heavy once again. We can bank on some of these guys that get the vast majority of the inside the 5 carries, the highest leverage carries for any running back, who are also involved in the passing game and should see a large percentage of their team's rushing touches. So high rush percentage for their team's running backs, high snap percentage, involvement in the passing game. All the same things that we look for in 5-box running backs in DFS are clearly going to be there on a week in, week out basis. So Christian McCaffrey, we're going to plug in as our number 1 guy. That agrees with the ADP. Number 2, I'm staying right with the ADP here with Dalvin Cook. A massive season for him in 2020. I don't expect much to change in 2021. I'm going to be doing a mock draft video. I'll be doing a few of those before the draft, maybe 2, 3, or 4 of them. My first one is going to come out later this week, so be on the lookout for that one. I do believe that the Vikings are going to try and bolster that offensive line, which will only help Dalvin Cook's status. Now, that passing game is solid enough. There are threats on the outside, so safeties can't just jam the box. He got a ridiculous amount of volume this year, and everybody's concern with Dalvin Cook the last few years has been he can't stay healthy. He can't stay healthy. 16 touchdowns, 1,500 yards, played 14 of the games. Yes, he did miss a game for COVID. Yes, he did miss a game with an injury, but ridiculous stats for him in 2020 and career progression and where he is on this team and the contract that he has. They're going to continue feeding him the ball. So Dalvin Cook, pretty solid as my number 2 pick in this way too early first round. Now, this is where things get a little bit different for me. I'm going to be taking, regardless of its PPR or if it's half PPR, I'm going to be taking Derrick Henry as my number 3 pick. We know what we're getting here. We do understand the risk in the passing game, but there is massive touchdown upside here with him every single week, whether you're playing best ball or whether you're playing a transactional league. You know what you're getting when you roster Derrick Henry. You're not going to get any involvement in the passing game. He does have big splash upside. There's 3 running backs in the league that I think have the best big splash upside. They are Derrick Henry, they are Nick Chubb, and they are Jonathan Taylor. We'll get to a couple of those in a minute. but you're getting 300 plus touches on the ground. You're getting the vast majority of the inside the 5. Is he going to get vultured by Tannehill sometimes? Yes, it's just part of the way that they run their offense there. But I'm going to leapfrog Alvin Kamara, where he is right now sitting as 3rd in these underdog ADPs from real money drafts. I'm going to be taking Derrick Henry. And another player that I'm going to be reaching for above either Kamara, with the uncertain situation at quarterback there with Breeze retiring, if Taysom Hill is the guy, then that's going to take away some of those touchdowns from Alvin Kamara. He is going to have all the passing game usage. He's never going to be really 1,000-yard. I mean, he has the ability to be 1,000-yard rushing back, but he's just not that guy because of the way that he's utilized. And then if you're going to take away his inside the 5 carries, I think he needs to fall. Saquon Barkley, first year back from an ACL injury, he could be amazing. We know that AP did amazing things in his first year back from an ACL, but he's more of an outlier than the rule. Usually it takes about a year for these guys. I think the volume will be fine for Barkley, but for me, I'm going with Jonathan Taylor here. As a rookie, had a fantastic season and finished up extremely strong from weeks 9 through 16, or 9 through 17, was one of I believe he was PFF's top back or top 2 backs in terms of grades, something that he was not doing early, and he wasn't getting the volume early, especially that he was late. Good involvement in the passing game as a rookie for Jonathan Taylor. Something that people thought that he could not do coming out of Wisconsin. He proved all of that wrong. If that continues to rise in his second year and he stops splitting snaps like he was in the first half of the season, as opposed to when they were using him as a 20 to 25 touch workhorse in the second half, including all of the inside the 5 carries, Jonathan Taylor in this offense, especially if they bring on a solid quarterback, and there's a lot of quarterbacks on that carousel that are moving around, if they end up with one of these really, really solid all-pro caliber quarterbacks, Jonathan Taylor stonks are going to be going through the roof. So that's where I'm going to end up with that pick. I'm still going to leapfrog the ADP here at 5, and I'm going to go with Travis Kelce. The difference in Travis Kelce and every other tight end is so vastly massive that, yes, is there opportunity cost if you skip a running back here? Most people would say yes. I'm going to say no. I believe personally that running back in the 2021 drafts is going to be deeper than it's ever been in the last 4 or 5 years. Usually you get to the middle to the end of the 3rd round, you're like, man, I don't know about these running backs that I'm taking right now. But I think there's running backs that are going to be high volume guys. They're going to be available at the RB20, RB22. You're talking right now, based on ADP, Myles Gaskin going in like the 6th round. Assuming that he stays the lead back in Miami. So there's plenty of volume guys that can contribute that are going later, which means that I think that if there's ever a year for 0 RB, this would be the year. And Travis Kelce provides me with such a huge positional advantage over every other tight end on the board. Yes, there's guys like Kittle coming back. The Walrus, Darren Waller, is fine, and I think he's going to go in the mid to late 2nd round in most drafts. But Kelce is such a head above all of those guys, even those 2nd tier still elite tight ends, that I've been willing for the last 2-3 seasons to reach for Travis Kelce. I'm still going to be reaching probably ahead of normal ADP, and will end up with more shares of Travis Kelce on my teams than most people will on theirs. My next pick, this is where I'm going to be selecting Alvin Kamara, is right after Travis Kelce. If he's available here, then I'm going to take him. We still know what we're getting with Alvin Kamara. He's an amazing player, maybe the best balance in the league at running back, one of the best pass-catching running backs in the league. What we did see was a ton of touchdowns, right? He was on the wrong side of touchdown variance in 2019. And he was on the right side of touchdown variance in 2016. So we've all read the 3 bears, right? So like he was too cold in 2019, then maybe he was too hot in 2020. And losing Drew Brees and going to Taysom Hill, there's a very distinct possibility that he could lose some of those close to the goal line touchdowns. His inside the 5 carries, or at least his share of them, his market share of them on that team could drop, meaning that if he falls to like the 10 to 12 touchdown range being more realistic. Now we've got the baby bear, and I think that those other 2 guys that I put above him, I think have more value from a predictability standpoint. He is still a great play. He's like the 6th overall pick. I'm not disrespecting Alvin Kamara by putting him in that spot. My next pick, as I said, I think that this is going to be another great year to be 0 RB. especially at the back half of the first round. If you get picks 6 through 12, 7 through 12, I think that going 0 RB with one or both of your first and second round picks, there's going to be running backs available in rounds 3 through 6 that you could very realistically grab a high volume guy. DeAndre Swift, you could grab an Antonio Gibson, you can grab, there's plenty of guys available. I mentioned Myles Gaskin before. So going with one of these superstar wide receivers early or pass catchers early, I think is going to be very much in fashion, especially at the back half of the first round. So Davante Adams, he just keeps getting better. He's absolutely absurd. And as long as Aaron Rodgers is his quarterback, and based on the podcast appearance that Aaron Rodgers had yesterday, there was things up in the air. Is Aaron Rodgers going to leave? He was a little bit unhappy with the way that the season ended. He was unhappy with them drafting Jordan Love. He was unhappy with the way that the management of the team is working. But he's like, I don't see any reason why I wouldn't be back next year. So as long as Aaron Rodgers is back, Davante Adams is going to be back, and he's going to do some ridiculous things once again. And this is where I'm going to bite on Saquon Barkley. The volume should be just fine. Absolute stud. Yes, it's the first year back from an ACL injury, and there can be some growing pains and learning how to work with your body and learn how to trust it in those situations. But again, a running back who will get all of the inside the 5 carries on an offense that we think is talented enough to move forward, as long as Daniel Jones can keep things moving forward and not turning the ball over. Saquon Barkley should be able to help with that, both in the short passing game, the dump down game, and with the run game. Now we're getting into the running or the wide receiver heavy part of the draft, and this is where I want to take Tyreek Hill in on par with ADP 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. He is the 9th player off the board on ADP currently on Underdog Fantasy, and he is the 9th player on my board currently. Again, getting shares of this Chiefs offense, it's a good idea. Tyreek Hill this year went from that 5, 6, 8 target a game guy down the stretch to like an 8 to 12 target a game guy. And we saw the difference. And as this offense, as long as it stays healthy with Mahomes and Kelce and whatever running back that they plug in, because they are somewhat interchangeable in that Chiefs offense, Tyreek Hill getting the volume that he got down the stretch, if that sustains to 90% of that volume in 2021, he's going to be an absolute steal of a pluck here at the 9 slot. And then going on to 10, this is where I'm going to change off of this ADP. I think that Nick Chubb is probably going to fall, or at least should fall. I'm going to prioritize going after wide receivers here, and I'm going to go with DeAndre Hopkins with the amount of volume that he got last year in an offense that should theoretically be ascending continually as Kyler gets more and more involved and gets more experience at the NFL level. DeAndre Hopkins is a target monster. We know exactly what he can do. I don't need to get in and tell you. He's done it pretty much every single year. 100 plus catches for 3 straight years, 96 the year before that in 2017. You're going to get volume, and that's what I want to bank on here at the back end of the first round. Wide receivers way more predictable, bigger fail rate for running backs than wide receivers, especially at this point. So locking in another high volume wide receiver, the American hero, Stefon Diggs. That's where we're going to go here with pick number 11. Again, an ascending offense. Their offensive coordinator did not get one of those head coaching jobs, as apparently they were just involved in the playoffs for way too long. And if he's back as offensive coordinator and everything stays the same with Josh Allen and Steph Diggs being the primary guy in this offense, as pass catchers, he had his biggest year. 127 receptions in 2020, 1,500 yards, 8 touchdowns. That kind of lags behind. He was a little bit touchdown unlucky as Josh Allen continually threw random touchdowns to random random tight ends, whether it was Lee Smith or Knox or any other tight end that he could pull out of his hat. Stefon Diggs actually should see somewhat of an uptick in his touchdowns, at least from 8. I would probably project about 10 for him in 2021. So if his volume remains the same, his targets, his catches, obviously his downfield ability, he's always been one of the best downfield wide receivers in the league, on top of that short game volume that he added this year. And then we add a couple of touchdowns to the mix, solidifying him as a great first round pick moving forward. And then at the 12 slot, yeah, I'm going with DK Metcalf, absolute freak show, who is still on the way up, still with Russ Wilson throwing the ball to him. They've now said that they're going to run the ball more. but nobody this year was really as consistent at wide receiver. Yes, Tyler Lockett is still there, but Tyler Lockett was a roller coaster ride. He either had no volume and no touchdowns, or 3 touchdowns and 15 catches, where DK Metcalf continually beat number 1 cornerbacks every single week, no matter who he was matched up with, whether it was Gilmore, whether it was Peterson, whether it was, did not matter. He was able to operate in the short and intermediate zones, as well as getting deep downfield for long touchdowns. Big splash ability. Would not be shocked to see him challenge for 100 receptions in 2021, as well as continually be at that 10 touchdown range. He's just too big of a target. One of the league leaders his first 2 seasons in terms of end zone targets. Big production in the red zone as well, not just on end zone targets, and big splash ability to do it for you on 1 catch. That's going to round out our first round here. Christian McCaffrey, Dalvin Cook, Derrick Henry, Jonathan Taylor, Travis Kelce, Alvin Kamara, Davante Adams, Saquon Barkley, and then a bunch of pass catchers: Tyreek Hill, DeAndre Hopkins, Stefon Diggs, and DK Metcalf. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate you being a part of the show, and look out for another video right there.
He's a legend.